Save him, please. A desperate little girl with a baby in her arms entered. The millionaire was shocked. That cloudy morning in New York City, Ryan Mendoza barely imagined his life would take an irreversible turn. CEO of Mendoza Tech, one of the largest technology and security companies in the United States, he was undergoing another one of his routine checkups at Mount Sinai Hospital. Despite being young, successful, and meticulously disciplined, Ryan took his health seriously, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps out of fear of losing control. In the white aseptic reception lobby, engrossed in emails and stock charts, he almost didn't hear the screams that cut through the environment with raw urgency. "Save him, please," was all he could distinguish before looking up. What he saw made him freeze. A little girl no older than 7, bursting into the hospital with tear-filled eyes, bare feet, and arms wrapped around an unconscious baby. There was something about that image that cut to the soul. It wasn't just the girl's desperation. It was the contrast. The child's purity against the coldness of the hospital environment, the fragility of that tiny body in her arms, the way she held him, as if his life depended on the strength of her embrace. Staff rushed. Nurses, security guards, doctors appeared from all sides, but Ryan was already on his feet, his phone forgotten on the bench. He didn't know why, but he felt his body move before his mind processed it. He followed from a distance as the professionals took the baby inside. The girl tried to follow them, but was held back by a security guard. Ryan then approached, still not understanding why that scene affected him so deeply. "Please, I need to stay with my brother," the little girl pleaded, tears streaming down her dirt-streaked face. "He's sick, very sick, and he only has me." Ryan knelt before her, seeking to establish eye contact. "Hello, my name is Ryan. What's yours?" "Sophia," she answered suspiciously, her dark eyes sparkling with a mix of fear and determination. "Sophia Carter. Sophia, the doctors will take care of your brother now." "What's his name?" "Lucas, my little brother Lucas." There was something in the way she spoke, a forced maturity, measured words as if each syllable weighed tons. Ryan immediately realized that this was no ordinary child. "Where are your parents, Sophia?" The girl's face hardened instantly. "They disappeared. It's been almost 6 months." "Disappeared? What do you mean?" "They left for work and never came back," she said in a fragile voice. "Daddy said he had something important to sort out, but he didn't come back. Neither did Mommy. I stayed taking care of Lucas, but now he's very sick." Ryan felt a pang in his chest. "And who has been taking care of you all these months?" Sophia looked away, biting her lower lip. "I take care of Lucas. We stayed in our apartment until the money ran out. Then we had to leave. Some people help us sometimes." Ryan couldn't believe what he was hearing. A 7-year-old child, practically living on the streets, caring for a sick baby. The most incredible thing was the way Sophia spoke, without self-pity, just stating facts as if she were reading a business report. A nurse approached, interrupting the conversation. "Sir, the doctor is already attending to the boy. The social worker is being called to handle the case of these children." Ryan nodded, but something inside him refused to simply turn his back and return to his perfectly organized life. "Sophia, I'm going to help you find out what happened to your parents, okay? But for now, let's see how your brother is doing." With a natural authority that opened all doors, Ryan led Sophia through the hospital corridors to the pediatric wing. Dr. Paul Thompson, one of New York City's best pediatricians, was examining little Lucas. The baby, who couldn't have been more than 2 years old, was unconscious, looking pale and feverish. "What's the diagnosis, doctor?" Ryan asked, surprising himself with the familiarity with which he approached the situation. The doctor looked from Ryan to Sophia, hesitant. "You can speak in front of her," Ryan said. "Sophia has been responsible for her brother for longer than any child should be." "The situation is serious," the doctor admitted. "Severe malnutrition, dehydration, and signs of a possible generalized infection. But something else is worrying me. Preliminary blood tests show changes that may indicate—" He hesitated again. "A case of leukemia." Sophia didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just held her brother's hand tighter and asked, "What do we do now?" Dr. Thompson explained the need for immediate hospitalization, complementary tests and aggressive treatment to stabilize Lucas. Ryan, listening to all of it, made an instant decision. "Doctor, I want the boy to receive the best possible treatment. All costs are covered by me, and I want a team dedicated exclusively to him." The doctor nodded, surprised but didn't question it. Sophia, in turn, looked at Ryan with suspicion. "Why are you doing this?" she asked when they were alone in the room, with Lucas already connected to monitors and receiving intravenous medication. "I don't know for sure myself," Ryan answered sincerely, perhaps because someone should. That night, Ryan didn't return to his penthouse apartment in the Upper East Side. He slept in the armchair in the hospital room, next to Sophia, who refused to leave her brother alone for even a minute. While the girl finally succumbed to exhaustion, he made a few calls. His personal assistant, Marianne Lawson, received instructions to reorganize his schedule for the next few days. Then he contacted Vincent Norris, head of security at Mendoza Tech. "Vincent, I need you to investigate the disappearance of a couple, last name Carter. They have 2 children, Sophia and Lucas. They disappeared approximately 6 months ago. Any leads on where to start, sir?" Ryan looked at the sleeping girl curled uncomfortably in the chair. "Not yet, but tomorrow I'll get more information." The next day, Ryan was surprised to wake up with a blanket over his shoulders. Sophia was awake, watching her brother with attentive eyes. She had covered Ryan during the night. "You didn't have to stay," she said without looking away from Lucas. "I wanted to stay," he replied, stretching his sore muscles. During breakfast, which Ryan insisted on getting personally from the hospital cafeteria, he began asking more specific questions. Patiently, he gradually gained the girl's trust, like someone taming a frightened wild animal. "Your father, Sophia. What did he do?" "Daddy was an engineer. He worked with computers and important stuff," she replied, nibbling on toast. "He worked at a big company. Mendoza something." Ryan almost choked on his coffee. "Mendoza Tech. My company?" Sophia's eyes widened. "It's your company." Daddy talked about it a lot. He had a picture of him with the boss, an older man. "What was your father's full name?" "Roger Carter." The name hit Ryan like lightning. Roger Carter was one of the most brilliant engineers who had ever worked for the company. He worked in the security software development sector. He had mysteriously disappeared months ago, leaving important projects unfinished. The company had reported his disappearance, but the case was treated as job abandonment after a few weeks without news. "And your mother?" "Mommy's name is Beatrice. She's a biology teacher, but she was home taking care of Lucas." Ryan made another call, this time to the Human Resources Department at Mendoza Tech. "I need all information on Roger Carter, immediately." While waiting for Lucas's test results, Ryan received Roger's complete file on his phone. An exemplary employee for 5 years. He led the development of the Guardian system, a security software sold to large corporations and government agencies. He had access to confidential information. His last record at the company was an urgent meeting request with Edward Mendoza, Ryan's uncle and co-founder of the company. Ryan felt a growing unease. Why had his uncle never mentioned this disappeared employee? Why hadn't the company investigated more thoroughly? That afternoon, Dr. Caroline Miller, a pediatric oncologist, confirmed the diagnosis. Lucas suffered from acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The treatment would be long and aggressive, but there was a chance of cure. Sophia received the news with the same stoic demeanor that Ryan was beginning to recognize as her trademark. "How long will it take? How much will it cost?" were her first questions. "Don't worry about that," Ryan assured her. "I'll take care of everything." "Why?" she insisted. "Nobody does anything for free. Daddy always said that." Ryan smiled sadly. "Your father was right about many things, but not everything in life has a price, Sophia. Sometimes we do things simply because it's the right thing to do." Meanwhile, the hospital's social worker, Renee Baker, tried to understand the situation. Without documents and legal guardians, the children would have to be sent to a temporary shelter once Lucas was stable. "That won't happen," Ryan stated with such conviction that the social worker took a step back. "I will initiate temporary guardianship proceedings. These children will not go to any shelter. Mr. Mendoza, I understand your concern, but there are legal procedures, and we will follow them, Ms. Baker. But in the meantime, I assume full responsibility for Sophia and Lucas." That night, after making sure the children were comfortable and well cared for, Ryan drove to Mendoza Tech, in the modern business complex on Park Avenue. The 30-story mirrored glass building reflected the city lights like a technological beacon. Even at that hour, many employees were still working. The company never fully slept. On the 28th floor, the main office was silent, except for the presence of Vincent, who was waiting for him with news. "I found some information, sir. Roger Carter and Beatrice Carter disappeared on March 12th. He left for work. She took their son to the doctor. Neither returned home. The police registered the case, but there has been no significant progress in the investigation." "What about their home? Belongings?" "A rented apartment in Queens, North Side. The landlord tried to make contact for a few weeks and, without answers or payments, eventually evicted their belongings. The girl wasn't there at the time, apparently." "What do you mean she wasn't there? Where was she?" "According to neighbors, the girl used to stay at an elderly lady's apartment in the building when her parents went out. On that day, she was there. When her parents didn't return, she went back to the apartment with the baby and stayed there until the eviction." "And after that?" "Traces are lost. Some neighbors reported seeing her around the area with her brother, but no one took any action. Apparently she managed to get food from some local restaurants, slept in temporary shelters." Ryan clenched his fists tightly, feeling a growing anger. A child and a baby, practically left to fend for themselves in a city like New York City, and no one had done anything substantial. "What about Roger's work? Any clue what he wanted to discuss with my uncle?" "Nothing specific in the official records, but—" Vincent hesitated. "But what?" "I found something odd. In the days leading up to his disappearance, Roger repeatedly accessed files related to the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project." Ryan frowned. The Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project was one of the company's most lucrative contracts, an integrated environmental monitoring system for the federal government, supposedly aimed at combating illegal deforestation. It was his Uncle Edward's favorite project, which he managed personally. "I want all files related to the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project on my desk tomorrow morning," Ryan ordered, "and continue investigating the couple's disappearance. Hire private detectives if necessary." Upon returning to the hospital, it was past midnight. Ryan found Sophia still awake, sitting beside Lucas's bed, humming a lullaby. "Don't you ever sleep?" he asked with a tired smile, handing her a bag with new clothes he had bought on the way. "I sleep when Lucas sleeps peacefully," she answered, accepting the gift with a suspicious look. "Did you find out anything about my parents?" Ryan hesitated. How to explain the complexity of the situation to a 7-year-old child? How to say that the deeper he dug, the more he suspected something was very wrong? "I'm still looking, Sophia. I promise I won't give up until I find them." She looked at him with those deep old eyes, as if seeing through his words. "I know they won't come back," she said with devastating simplicity, "but thank you for trying." Ryan felt a tightening in his chest. There was something in the way Sophia spoke, as if each word was carefully selected, as if she knew more than she was telling. He wondered what that girl must have seen, what she must have heard in the last months of her short life. "Sophia, did your father leave anything with you? Documents, objects, anything?" For a moment the girl remained still. Then slowly she pulled a thin chain from inside her blouse. Hanging from it was a small silver flash drive. "Daddy gave me this that day. He said it was very important and that I shouldn't show it to anyone." She hesitated, her eyes shining with a mix of fear and hope. "But I think I can show it to you." Ryan received the flash drive carefully, as if it were a sacred relic. "I'll take care of this, I promise. And tomorrow we'll start arranging things for both of you to stay with me while we look for your parents. Okay?" Sophia nodded, and for the first time since he had met her, Ryan saw a small smile form on her lips. It was as if a ray of sunshine had pierced the dark clouds that hung over her. That night, as Sophia finally fell asleep in the chair beside her brother's bed, Ryan contemplated the flash drive in his hands, feeling the weight of the responsibility he had just taken on. Something told him that the contents of that small device would change his life forever, and possibly reveal truths that many would prefer to keep buried. The sound of Lucas's monitors filled the room with a constant, reassuring beep. Ryan looked at the two sleeping children and made a silent promise. No matter what he found on that flash drive, no matter who he had to fight against, he would protect those children. Because something in Sophia and Lucas had awakened in him a feeling he thought he had lost long ago, the ability to truly care for someone other than himself. The next morning, Ryan woke up with a stiff neck from the restless night in the hospital armchair. He observed Sophia, who was already awake, methodically organizing the few belongings they had into a small, worn backpack. There was an almost military organization about her, clothes folded precisely, essential items separated from superfluous ones, everything mentally catalogued. A 7-year-old child with the discipline of a soldier. "Good morning," he said, stretching his tense muscles. "Did you sleep well?" "I did," she replied without interrupting her task. Lucas was calm all night. His fever went down a bit. Ryan approached the little boy, who was sleeping serenely. The paleness was still there, but his breathing seemed less labored. The medication bags connected to his fragile body dripped at a steady rhythm, pumping hope into his veins. "Doctor." Caroline entered the room carrying a folder full of test results and a gentle smile that didn't entirely hide the concern in her eyes. "Good morning. How is our patient?" she asked, checking the monitors. "Better, I think," Sophia answered before Ryan could say anything. "He slept all night and didn't cry once." The doctor nodded, impressed by the girl's precise observation. "You'd make a great nurse, you know. You're absolutely right. His vital signs are more stable." Turning to Ryan, she continued in a more serious tone. "We received the results of the complementary tests. Unfortunately, the leukemia has been confirmed. It's a case of acute lymphoblastic leukemia, B-cell type. The good news is that this type responds well to treatment, especially in young children." "And what comes next?" Ryan asked, feeling Sophia instinctively draw closer to him, as if seeking protection. "We need to start chemotherapy protocol as soon as possible. It will be a long treatment with several phases. The first is induction, where we try to achieve remission of the disease. Then comes consolidation to eliminate any remaining cancer cells, and finally maintenance, which can last up to 2 years. Sophia listened to everything with impressive concentration, absorbing every word, every medical term. "Will it hurt?" was her only question. Dr. Caroline knelt to be at the girl's height. "I won't lie to you, Sophia. The treatment can be difficult. Your brother might feel tired, nauseous, and his hair will fall out, but we are here to help control these discomforts. And remember, all of this is for him to get well." Sophia nodded with that disconcerting maturity that no longer surprised Ryan. "When does it start?" "Today. We are already preparing everything." After the doctor left, Ryan sat beside Sophia. "I have to go to the office to sort some things out, but I'll be back soon. Will you be okay?" "I will," she replied. "I always am." There was so much history behind that simple statement that Ryan felt a lump in his throat. "I know you are, but now you're not alone anymore, okay?" Before leaving, he called his lawyer, Dr. Julia Vance, a family law specialist. "Julia, I need to start a provisional guardianship process for 2 children. It's urgent." On the way to Mendoza Tech headquarters, Ryan finally managed to examine the contents of the flash drive Sophia had given him. He connected the device to his laptop in the back seat of the car as his driver navigated the congested traffic on Fifth Avenue. What he found made his blood run cold. The flash drive contained hundreds of meticulously organized documents, technical reports, emails, photographs, and spreadsheets, all related to the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project. At first glance, they seemed like official company documents. But looking more closely, Ryan noticed the discrepancies. There were 2 sets of reports, the official ones presented to the federal government and the internal ones, with completely different data. While the official reports showed the system working perfectly, identifying deforestation areas in real time, the internal ones revealed critical flaws that were deliberately concealed. Even more alarming, emails exchanged between his Uncle Edward and various high-ranking government officials discussing how to manipulate data to release conservation areas for logging and agricultural exploitation under the guise of sustainable development. Ryan felt the nausea grow as he read explicit messages about bribes, illicit agreements, and, most disturbing, threats against anyone who dared to expose the scheme. In one of the last saved emails, dated the day of Roger's disappearance, there was a message from Edward. "We need to resolve the Carter problem immediately. He knows too much. Handle this personally and report back to me. No traces." The message was addressed to a recipient identified only as Falcon, a code name used by Edward's private security chief, Augustus Falcon. Ryan closed the laptop, feeling suddenly suffocated. His own uncle, the man who had raised him after the accident that took his parents, the mentor he admired, was involved not only in corporate and environmental fraud, but possibly in the disappearance, or worse, of an employee and his wife. Upon arriving at the company, Ryan avoided the main elevator and used the service stairs to reach the server room in the basement. There he found Camilla Davies, head of the IT department and one of the few people he trusted completely. "Camilla, I need to access all records of the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project without anyone knowing, especially my uncle." Camilla, a woman in her 30s with sharp intelligence and unwavering loyalty, didn't ask why. She just nodded and started working. "The main servers are constantly monitored, but we have weekly backups that are stored offline for security. I can give you access to them without leaving a trace." While Camilla worked, Ryan received a call from Vincent. "Sir, I found something about the Carter couple. On the day of their disappearance, the company's parking lot security cameras recorded Roger getting into his car. He seemed agitated. About 10 minutes later, a black vehicle followed him. I managed to track the route through the city's traffic cameras until the highway, where we lost him." "What about his wife?" "Beatrice Carter was last seen at the pediatric clinic, where she took her son that morning. She left there around 11 a.m. The curious thing is that the security cameras at the location experienced a technical failure during that exact period." "Too much of a coincidence," Ryan murmured. "Keep investigating. And Vincent, be careful. This is bigger than we imagined." Back in the server room, Camilla had gained access to the backups. "Done. Everything's here. But there's something strange." "What?" "Some files seem to have been retroactively altered. There are inconsistencies in the modification dates. Someone tried to erase traces but didn't do a perfect job." Ryan spent the next few hours immersed in the files, comparing them with the documents from Sophia's flash drive. With each new discovery, the picture became clearer and darker. The Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project, sold as a revolutionary environmental protection tool, was actually an elaborate facade to allow illegal deforestation in protected areas. Mendoza Tech received millions to develop a system that intentionally had blind spots, areas where devastation occurred undetected. Meanwhile, fraudulent reports ensured the continuity of contracts and averted any suspicion. Roger Carter, as chief engineer of the project, had discovered the fraud and tried to alert the authorities. But before he could do so, he mysteriously disappeared along with his wife. At noon, Ryan received a call from Dr. Caroline. Lucas had started chemotherapy treatment and was reacting well so far. Sophia remained by his side, refusing to leave even for meals. "Tell her I'm on my way," Ryan replied, hanging up the phone with a worried sigh. Before leaving, he copied all the compromising files to a new device and stored it in his personal safe. Then he carefully erased the traces of his investigation from the company's computers. On the way to the hospital, Ryan made another important call, this time to an old college friend, Detective Christine Adams of the Federal Police. "Christine, I need your help. Here's something big and potentially dangerous." "I'm listening," she replied seriously. "I have evidence of corporate fraud, government corruption, and possible criminal action against 2 people. And the worst part, everything indicates that my own company is at the center of it." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "That's serious, Ryan. We need to talk in person. Come to my office tomorrow, 8 a.m. No recordings, no official records for now." Upon arriving at the hospital, Ryan found a scene that broke his heart. Lucas, connected to several tubes and monitors, slept under the effect of the medication. Sophia was sitting beside the bed, holding her brother's tiny hand with an expression so tired that she seemed to have aged decades in a single day. "Hey," Ryan called softly, entering the room. "How are you two doing?" Sophia looked up, and for the first time since he had met her, Ryan saw genuine vulnerability in her gaze. He threw up 3 times. They said it's normal because of the medicine. But he cried a lot. Ryan approached, sitting beside her. "Have you eaten anything today?" She shook her head. "Let's do this. I'll stay here with Lucas while you go to the cafeteria with Nurse Talia. Eat something and then come back, okay?" Initially, Sophia refused, but after some insistence and the promise that Ryan would not leave Lucas's side for a second, she finally agreed. Alone with the sleeping little boy, Ryan felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him. How could someone harm an entire family, leaving 2 children helpless? What kind of monster had his uncle become? Lucas stirred in his sleep, making an uncomfortable expression. Ryan gently adjusted the pillow under his head and stroked his hair carefully to avoid tangling it in the tubes. "It's going to be okay, little warrior," he whispered. "I promise I'll take care of both of you." When Sophia returned, she seemed a little more animated after eating. She brought with her a drawing she had made in the cafeteria. 3 stick figures holding hands, 1 large and 2 small. "It's you, me, and Lucas," she explained shyly, handing the paper to Ryan. He felt a lump in his throat as he looked at the simple drawing, yet laden with meaning. It was a portrait of hope, the hope of a family. "It's beautiful, Sophia. I'll keep it forever." That afternoon, his lawyer, Julia, arrived at the hospital with news. "I managed an emergency hearing with the family court judge for tomorrow. He will consider your petition for provisional guardianship, but we need to demonstrate that you are capable of adequately caring for the children." "That won't be a problem," Ryan assured her. "There's one more thing," Julia continued. "The social worker did a preliminary search for close relatives. She didn't find anyone on the maternal side, but there is a paternal uncle, a brother of Roger Carter named Michael. He lives in rural Riverbend, upstate New York, and will be notified of the situation." Ryan felt a pang in his chest. What if this uncle decided to claim guardianship of the children? Technically, he would have priority as a biological relative. "Understood. Keep me informed of any contact with this uncle." That night, while Sophia finally agreed to sleep in the extra bed Ryan had requested for the room, still positioned right next to Lucas's bed, he took the opportunity to analyze more documents from the flash drive. Among the evidence, he found something disturbing: a detailed plan to neutralize Roger if he became a threat. The document, written by Augustus Falcon, mentioned an operation to remove the target and family from the map if necessary. Ryan was so absorbed in the documents that he didn't notice when the room door quietly opened. Only when he felt a presence behind him did he turn around with a start. "What are you doing here?" he asked, staring at his Uncle Edward, who was watching him with an enigmatic smile. "I came to visit my workaholic nephew, who disappeared from the company without explanation," Edward replied, approaching. His eyes wandered around the room, momentarily lingering on the sleeping children. "And I also wanted to meet your new protégés. The entire company is talking about how the powerful CEO is funding the treatment of an unknown little boy." Ryan discreetly closed his laptop, feeling his heart race. "How did you know where to find me?" "Please, Ryan, I'm your uncle. I have my methods." Edward approached Lucas, observing him with a cold curiosity that made the hairs on Ryan's neck stand on end. "So this is Carter's son. Interesting coincidence, don't you think?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Edward chuckled softly. "Of course not." Turning back to Ryan, his expression changed to something more serious. "Listen, nephew, I know you have a soft heart. Always have. But be careful not to get too involved in matters that don't concern you. Some stories are best left in the past. Like the disappearance of these children's parents," Ryan risked, keeping his voice low so as not to wake Sophia. Edward narrowed his eyes, and for a moment, his mask of cordiality fell. "Exactly like that. Roger Carter was a problematic employee who didn't understand his place. He made serious accusations without proof, threatened the reputation of the company your own father helped build. And now you're feeding those fantasies?" "They're not fantasies if there's proof, Uncle." The 2 men stared at each other in silence, the tension palpable in the air. Finally, Edward smiled again, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Be careful, Ryan. Companies like ours have many enemies. It would be a shame if something compromised your position or your safety." He cast a meaningful glance at the sleeping children. "Or theirs." With those words, Edward left the room, leaving behind a disturbed Ryan, even more determined to protect Sophia and Lucas, not only from a flawed system, but now from a concrete and immediate threat. In the bed next to him, Sophia opened her eyes. She had been awake the whole time, listening to every word of the conversation. "He's the bad man, isn't he?" she whispered, sitting up. "The man Daddy said wanted to hurt him." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. "What else did your father say, Sophia?" The girl pulled the covers up to her chin, as if seeking protection. "He said he had discovered something very bad, something that was hurting the forest and the indigenous people. He said he needed to tell the right people, but that there were powerful men who didn't want him to speak." Ryan approached, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Sophia, your father was a very brave man, and you are very brave too. I promise I will uncover the whole truth and get justice for you. Aren't you afraid of that man? He seems dangerous." Ryan thought for a moment. Edward was his uncle, the man who had raised him, who had taught him everything about business. But now he clearly saw the monster behind the mask. "Yes, I am afraid," he admitted honestly, "but sometimes we need to face our fears to protect those we love." Sophia looked at him with those old eyes in such a young face. "Do you love us? You barely know us." The question caught Ryan by surprise. Still, the answer came easily. "Yes, Sophia, in a way that even I don't fully understand. I love both of you, and I will do everything in my power to keep you safe." The girl nodded, seeming satisfied with the answer. After a moment of silence, she spoke again. "If you're going to be our guardian, you need to know one more thing." "What?" Sophia slid off the bed and knelt beside her small backpack. From a hidden pocket, she pulled out an old cell phone. "Daddy gave me this too. He said I should only use it in an extreme emergency, because they could track it." Ryan took the device carefully. "Have you used it?" "No, I never knew what would be a big enough emergency. I didn't even know if it still worked. And I was afraid the bad men would find us." The phone was out of battery. Ryan connected it to a charger, eager to see what it might contain as more evidence, perhaps a way to locate Sophia and Lucas's parents. While they waited for the device to charge, Sophia asked a question that caught Ryan off guard. "If my parents can't come back, will you be our dad?" Ryan felt a mix of emotions so intense that he was momentarily speechless. I would very much like that, Sophia, but there are many things to resolve first." "I know," she replied with that disconcerting maturity. "I just wanted to know." The phone finally turned on. The lock screen requested a password. "Do you know the password, Sophia?" She nodded. "It's my birthday and Lucas's together." Ryan typed the combination and the phone unlocked. There weren't many apps or contacts, just one, identified as safe, and in the photo gallery, only one video. With his heart racing, Ryan pressed play. In the video, Roger Carter's tense face filled the screen. He spoke quickly, constantly looking over his shoulder as if fearing discovery. "If you're seeing this, it means something went wrong. I discovered that the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project is a complete fraud. The system was deliberately designed to have flaws that allow illegal deforestation on indigenous lands and protected areas. There are politicians and businessmen involved in the scheme. Edward Mendoza is the main architect. I have all the evidence on the flash drive I left with Sophia." Roger swallowed hard, visibly nervous. "I tried to do the right thing, report it internally, but I was threatened. I'm leaving this video as insurance. If something happens to me or Beatrice, this video and the evidence must be handed over to the authorities." He looked directly at the camera, as if he could see through time and space. "Sophia, my little one, if you're watching this, know that Daddy and Mommy love you very much, just as we love Lucas. You are strong, stronger than you imagine. Trust only those who deserve your trust." The video ended there abruptly. Ryan looked at Sophia, who watched the video with eyes full of contained tears. "Your father was a hero, you know?" She nodded, unable to speak. At that moment, Ryan made a definitive decision. No matter who he had to fight, even if it was his own uncle, he would get justice for that family. And in the process, perhaps he would find redemption for himself and for the tarnished legacy of his company. The next morning dawned with a thin, persistent rain, typical of New York City autumn. Ryan woke with a start, momentarily disoriented by the shrill ring of his cell phone. It was Vincent, his head of security. "Sir, we have a problem. Someone hacked into the company system overnight." Apparently, they tried to access the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project files. Ryan sat up straight in the armchair, completely awake now. Did they succeed? No, the offline backups that Camilla set aside are safe. But it's strange. It seems they were looking for the exact same files you accessed yesterday. A shiver ran down Ryan's spine. His uncle was acting quickly. Reinforce security on all servers. And Vincent, hire extra security for the hospital. I don't want anyone unauthorized entering this room. Hanging up the phone, Ryan observed the silent room. Lucas was still sleeping, an effect of the potent medications fighting the cancer in his tiny body. Sophia, surprisingly, was also sleeping soundly in the bed next to him, probably exhausted after months of carrying a weight far greater than her age would allow. Roger's cell phone, now fully charged, rested on the table nearby. Ryan picked it up again, examining its contents in more detail. In addition to the video, there were text messages exchanged with a contact identified only as safe. The last message exchange was disturbing. They know. They're following me. I'm going to try to get Beatrice and the children to a safe place. The reply, be careful. Don't trust anyone from the company. I have contacts in the federal police who can help. Meet me at the agreed location at 3 p.m. That was the last message sent on the day of the disappearance. Ryan checked the number of the safe contact. Perhaps he could trace it, find Roger's mysterious ally. A slight movement caught his attention. Sophia had woken up and was watching him with attentive eyes. "Good morning," he said, putting the phone away. "Did you sleep well?" She nodded, rubbing her eyes. "It's the first time I've slept so much since they disappeared." Her voice caught for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. "Is Lucas okay?" "Yes, he is." The nurse came to check on him several times during the night. Sophia got up, immediately going to her brother's side, a ritual Ryan already recognized as an integral part of her routine. First she checked the monitors, then touched Lucas's forehead to check for fever, and finally adjusted the blanket around him with almost maternal care. "Today we have the hearing with the judge," Ryan reminded her, checking his watch. "Julia will be here in 2 hours to accompany us." "What about Lucas?" "I can't leave him alone. The medical team will take care of him, and I've left security guards at the door. No one will enter here without authorization, I promise." Sophia seemed hesitant. "That man from yesterday, your uncle, could he do something to Lucas while we're out?" The question hit Ryan with the force of a punch. The girl's distrust was not unfounded, given the circumstances. "No, Sophia, I won't let him get near you. Besides, we're just going to the courthouse, which is 10 minutes from here, and we'll be back quickly." While Sophia prepared for the hearing, putting on the new clothes Ryan had bought, he took the opportunity to call Detective Christine. The meeting scheduled for that morning would need to be rescheduled. Christine, an unforeseen event came up. "I have a hearing at family court to obtain provisional guardianship of the children." "I understand, Ryan, but we can't delay too long. What you told me yesterday on the phone is extremely serious." "I know. Can we meet at the end of the day?" "I'll be in my office until 6 p.m. and Ryan, be careful. If we're dealing with whom you mentioned, the situation could be more dangerous than we imagine." After hanging up, Ryan received another call, this time from the hospital reception. "Mr. Mendoza, there's a man downstairs insisting on seeing patient Lucas Carter. He says he's the children's uncle." Ryan felt his blood run cold. "His name?" "Michael Carter. He presented documents proving kinship. Don't let him come up. Tell him I'll be at reception in 5 minutes." Turning to Sophia, who had just come out of the bathroom already dressed, Ryan tried to keep his voice calm. "Sophia, your Uncle Michael is here at the hospital. Do you know him?" The girl frowned, clearly surprised. "Uncle Michael? But he lives very far away. Daddy and he haven't spoken in years. Do you know why?" Sophia shrugged. "Daddy used to say they had different ideas about how to live. Uncle Michael wanted Daddy to work with him in the countryside, but Daddy preferred the big city." Ryan nodded, processing the information. "I'm going down to talk to him. You stay here with Lucas, okay? Nurse Talia is right outside if you need anything." In the elevator, Ryan's mind raced. The sudden appearance of this uncle was, at the very least, suspicious. Just now, when the guardianship hearing was scheduled, was it just a coincidence? Or was Edward moving his pieces on the board? In the reception area, Ryan immediately spotted the man who could only be Michael Carter. Tall and thin, with the same facial features Sophia had inherited, but with a harsh, calculating expression that didn't inspire trust. "Mr. Carter, I'm Ryan Mendoza." The man assessed him from head to toe with a look that mixed disdain and curiosity. "How the famous billionaire who suddenly takes an interest in my nephews? May I ask why?" The immediate aggression confirmed Ryan's suspicions. "Why don't we talk somewhere more private?" "Try here," suggested, leading Michael to a small empty waiting room. Once alone, Ryan got straight to the point. "You appear after months of no contact, right on the day of the guardianship hearing. Forgive my distrust, but this seems too convenient." Michael smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I only found out about the situation yesterday, when a lawyer contacted me. Apparently someone is very interested in me taking guardianship of my nephews." "Which lawyer?" "A certain Maurice Foster. He said he represented a group concerned about the children's well-being." Ryan knew that name well. Maurice was Edward's personal lawyer, not the company's. This confirmed his suspicions. "And you, who haven't seen your brother in years, suddenly decided to take responsibility for 2 children, one of whom is seriously ill." Michael shrugged, not even trying to hide his indifference. "They're my blood." And the lawyer mentioned a generous financial compensation to help with expenses. Ryan felt his anger rise, but kept his composure. "I see. And you know what happened to your brother and sister-in-law?" "They said they disappeared." "A shame." The casual tone in which he spoke was revolting. "Mr. Carter, I'll be direct. I have reason to believe that your brother and his wife were victims of something very serious, related to his work at my company. I am investigating this and protecting the children while I seek the truth." Michael narrowed his eyes. "What kind of something serious?" "The kind that involves powerful people willing to pay to keep secrets buried. People who are now using you to try to separate the children from me." A brief flicker of understanding crossed Michael's face, followed by a visible calculation. "And how much would you be willing to pay for me to disappear from this story?" Ryan was not surprised by the explicit offer. "I will not negotiate over the well-being of 2 innocent children. Everyone has their price, Mendoza. Even you." "Not when it comes to lives." Michael laughed, a harsh, unpleasant sound. Noble, but not very realistic. He stood up. "We'll see each other in court then. We'll see who the judge considers more suitable, a blood relative or a billionaire with a hidden agenda." After Michael left, Ryan took a deep breath, trying to control his anger. His phone vibrated. It was a message from Julia, his lawyer. "I'm on my way to the hospital. We have a problem. Edward Mendoza has filed an objection to your guardianship petition, alleging conflict of interest and emotional instability." His uncle's audacity was impressive. Edward was playing really dirty, using Ryan's personal tragedy against him. "That's absurd. I went through therapy. I'm perfectly fine." "I know, but he got an evaluation from a renowned psychiatrist who never examined you, but gave an opinion based on observed behaviors. Additionally, Michael Carter filed a formal request for guardianship, claiming blood ties." Ryan ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "He doesn't even know the children properly." "The judge will consider that, but you know how it works. Biological relatives usually have preference. Our only chance is to prove that he is unsuitable and that you have a special connection with the children." "And how do we do that?" "Sophia will have to speak. She's old enough for her opinion to be considered." Ryan looked into the room where Sophia was gently stroking Lucas's hand. "I don't want her to go through that. We have no choice, Ryan. Edward is playing hard, using all his influence. We need every possible advantage." After a moment of reflection, Ryan agreed. "I'll talk to her, but we'll only do it if she agrees." Back in the room, he explained the situation to Sophia as gently as possible. To his surprise, the girl showed no fear or hesitation. "I'll talk to the judge," she declared with determination. "I'll tell everything." "Are you sure?" "It can be intimidating." Sophia lifted her chin with that unusual dignity for her age. "I am. Daddy always said the truth is the best shield, and I won't let that man take us." As they prepared to leave, Dr. Caroline came in for a final checkup on Lucas before the chemotherapy scheduled for that afternoon. "How is he, doctor?" Ryan asked. "Stable. The first few days are always difficult, but he's reacting well considering the circumstances. She hesitated, looking at Sophia, who was adjusting her coat. Are you leaving? We have a family court hearing. Guardianship matter. The doctor nodded understandingly. I see. Don't worry. We'll take good care of him while you're gone. Bending down to Sophia's height, she smiled gently. Your little brother is very strong, you know? He's a true warrior. Sophia returned the smile, one of the rare moments when she acted like the child she should be. I know, he always has been, even when he was a tiny baby. In the car on the way to the courthouse, Ryan received a call from Camilla, the IT head. Sir, that contact on the cell phone, the safe one. I managed to trace it. It's a number registered under the name of Henry Maxwell, an investigative journalist for the Times, specialized in environmental corruption and corporate crimes. Ryan felt a pang of hope. Can you get his address? I already have it. I sent it to your email. One more thing. He published a series of reports on environmental irregularities in the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve in recent years. Several mention corruption schemes involving unidentified technology companies. Thank you, Camilla. Keep investigating discreetly. Hanging up, Ryan shared the discovery with Julia. This journalist could be our key to understanding what happened to Sophia's parents. Or to strengthen our guardianship case, Julia replied. If we can prove there's a connection between the parents' disappearance and the uncle's sudden interest, we'll have a better chance against Michael. The family and juvenile court was an imposing building in the city center. Upon arrival, Ryan immediately noticed his uncle Edward talking to Michael Carter and a man he recognized as Morris Foster, Edward's personal lawyer. Sophia squeezed Ryan's hand, visibly nervous for the first time. It's him, she whispered. The bad man from the hospital. Ryan knelt down to her level. Don't worry. He can't do anything here. Just tell the truth to the judge, okay? The hearing was held behind closed doors, with only the interested parties, lawyers and the judge, Judge Paul Rivers, a middle-aged man with a stern expression but kind eyes. Michael was the first to testify, presenting himself as the loving uncle who only wanted the best for his nephews. He claimed that Ryan was a stranger with obscure interests and that the children would be better off with a blood relative, in a simpler, more familiar environment in the countryside. Edward testified next, expressing sincere concern for his nephew's emotional stability after the personal tragedy suffered years ago. He insinuated that Ryan was using the children to fill an emotional void, without considering what would be best for them. When it was Ryan's turn, he was direct and honest. He explained how he found Sophia, how he felt responsible for her and Lucas's well-being, especially upon discovering they were the children of a former employee of his company. Your Honor, I don't deny that I've grown attached to these children, but it's not a selfish attachment. It's a commitment. I committed to protecting them and to discovering the truth about their parents' disappearance. And yes, I am funding Lucas's treatment, who suffers from leukemia and needs specialized care that he would hardly receive in a small rural town. The judge listened attentively, making occasional notes. Mr. Mendoza, what do you have to say about the allegations of emotional instability? With all due respect, Your Honor, these allegations are unfounded. Yes, I lost someone I loved deeply 2 years ago. And yes, it affected me, but I sought professional help and overcame my grief. What drives me now is not an attempt to replace what I lost, but rather the certainty that I can make a real difference in the lives of 2 children who desperately need stability and security. Finally, the moment everyone was waiting for arrived. Sophia was called for a private conversation with the judge in his chambers, without the presence of the involved parties. Ryan felt his heart clench as he saw the small figure following the magistrate, her shoulders held high with determination. During the longest 20 minutes of Ryan's life, he remained seated in the courtroom, exchanging tense glances with his uncle. Edward maintained a confident smile, as if victory was already guaranteed. Michael seemed bored, constantly checking his watch, his disinterest in the children evident in every gesture. When Sophia returned, her eyes were red but dry. She walked directly to Ryan and held his hand, completely ignoring her biological uncle, a gesture that did not go unnoticed by the judge. After a few minutes of deliberation, Judge Paul Rivers delivered his decision. Considering the exceptional circumstances of this case, the delicate medical condition of Lucas Carter, the bond already established between Mr. Mendoza and the children, as well as the clear preference expressed by the minor Sophia, I determined the granting of provisional guardianship of the minors, Sophia and Lucas Carter, to Mr. Ryan Mendoza for an initial period of 6 months, with re-evaluation at the end of this term. Ryan felt such great relief that his legs almost gave way. Sophia, by his side, let out a small sigh. However, the judge continued, I also determined bi-weekly supervised visits by the biological uncle, Mr. Michael Carter, should he demonstrate interest in maintaining a bond with his nephews, and I require monthly reports on Lucas's health status and the general well-being of the children, to be prepared by a social worker appointed by the court. Edward stood up abruptly, his face contorted in a mask of barely contained fury. Without a word he left the room, followed by his lawyer. Michael seemed more relieved than disappointed, as if he had been freed from a burden. On the way back to the hospital, Sophia finally relaxed, letting some silent tears roll down her face. What I said worked, she murmured. What did you tell the judge? Ryan asked gently. The truth, that you were the only person who really cared about us after my parents disappeared, that you're trying to find them, that Uncle Michael never cared about us until now, and that Daddy didn't trust him. She paused. And I also said I'm afraid of your uncle, that he seems like the kind of bad man Daddy taught me to avoid. Ryan hugged her tenderly. You were very brave. Upon arriving at the hospital, they were met by an alarming scene. 2 security guards hired by Ryan were arguing heatedly with a man trying to enter Lucas's room. Ryan immediately recognized Augustus Falcon, Edward's head of security, the man whose code name had appeared in the incriminating documents. What's going on here? Ryan demanded, positioning Sophia protectively behind him. Falcon turned, a cold smile on his lips. The man of the hour. Just wanted to meet your protégés, see what's so special about them that you'd risk so much. Get out of here now, Ryan ordered, keeping his voice low but firm. There's nothing for you here. For now, Falcon replied, adjusting his jacket. But the battle has only just begun, Mendoza. Your uncle is not a man to lose. After Falcon left, Ryan reinforced his instructions to the security guards. No one, absolutely no one, without his express authorization, could enter Lucas's room. Inside the room, they found Lucas sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the drama unfolding around him. Nurse Talia informed them that the chemotherapy session had been completed without complications, but that the little one was exhausted. We did it, Lucas, Sophia whispered, gently stroking her brother's hand. We're going to stay with Ryan. He's going to protect us. Ryan felt an overwhelming emotion upon hearing those words. The trust placed in him by that little girl, who had already faced more adversity than many adults, was both a privilege and a monumental responsibility. Yes, I will protect you, he promised, knowing that promise would be tested very soon. His uncle's expression upon leaving the court left no doubt. Edward Mendoza would not give up easily. Ryan knew he needed to act quickly. Provisional guardianship was just the first step. Now he needed to find the journalist Henry Maxwell, the mysterious safe, who might have the answers about the whereabouts of Sophia and Lucas's parents. And more importantly, he needed to gather enough evidence to expose the environmental corruption scheme before his uncle could silence him, or worse, reach the children. Time was running out, and the battle, as Falcon had said, was only just beginning. That same night, while Sophia finally slept soundly in the extra bed next to Lucas, Ryan discreetly left the hospital. 2 security guards he trusted completely remained on duty at the room door. He had confirmed the address of Henry Maxwell, the journalist who could be the key to unraveling the entire mystery. Henry's apartment was in Greenwich Village, a bohemian and intellectual neighborhood in New York City. It was a simple building, without a doorman, with an antiquated intercom system. Ryan pressed the button for apartment 501 and waited, feeling his heart race. "Who is it?" came the cautious voice through the intercom. "My name is Ryan Mendoza. I'm looking for Henry Maxwell. It's about Roger Carter." There was a long silence. For a moment, Ryan thought he wouldn't get a response. Then the intercom buzzed, unlocking the door. The apartment was exactly what one would expect from an investigative journalist. Walls covered with newspaper clippings, books piled everywhere, and a computer surrounded by monitors, displaying various news in real time. Henry was a man in his 40s, with a scruffy beard and eyes that revealed sleepless nights. "How did you find me?" was his first question, without offering a seat or any cordiality. The number on Roger's cell phone. You were the safe contact. Henry narrowed his eyes. "And how do you have Roger's cell phone?" "His daughter, Sophia, gave it to me. I've been taking care of her and her brother, Lucas, since I found them at the hospital a week ago." The mention of the children seemed to break some of Henry's distrust. He gestured to a chair for Ryan and sat on the edge of his cluttered desk. "So the rumors are true that the powerful CEO of Mendoza Tech adopted 2 unknown children." There was a hint of irony in his voice. "Why?" Ryan decided to be completely honest. At first it was instinct, a desperate girl with a sick baby in her arms. Anyone with a minimum of humanity would have helped. Then I discovered they were the children of a former employee of my company, and that their disappearance could be linked to something much more serious. "The Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project," Henry murmured, not as a question but as a confirmation. Ryan nodded. "I found documents that Roger left. They prove that my company, under the direction of my uncle Edward, is involved in an environmental fraud scheme. The system we developed to monitor illegal deforestation in the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve was deliberately designed to have blind spots, allowing illegal logging in supposedly protected areas," Henry completed. "Roger contacted me 3 days before he disappeared. He was terrified but determined to expose the scheme. What happened? Did you meet?" Henry ran a hand through his disheveled hair, a gesture that denoted guilt and frustration. "We arranged to meet on the day he disappeared. He said he would bring all the evidence, but he never showed up. I tried to contact him several times without success. Then I started investigating on my own." "And what did you discover?" "Not enough to publish, unfortunately. Your uncle is extremely careful. The traces are minimal. I have strong suspicions, but without concrete proof, it would be suicide to publish accusations against one of the most powerful men in the country." Ryan took a flash drive from his pocket. "I think this might help. These are all the documents Roger left with Sophia, plus some I managed to extract from the company's servers." Henry's eyes gleamed with a mix of hope and caution. "Why are you giving this to me?" "It's your own company we're talking about exposing." "Because it's the right thing to do," Ryan simply replied. "And because I need to find those children's parents if they're still alive." Henry connected the flash drive to his computer and began examining the files. His face grew increasingly serious as he progressed. "This is much more serious than I imagined. It's not just illegal deforestation. There's evidence here of invasion of indigenous lands, contamination of rivers by illegal mining, all facilitated by the deliberate flaw in the monitoring system. And there's direct proof of my uncle's involvement." Henry nodded slowly. "This will cause a political and corporate earthquake when it's published." Looking directly at Ryan, he added, "Are you ready for the consequences? Your company might not survive this." "I'm ready. Mendoza Tech was founded by my father with solid ethical principles. If it needs to be destroyed to be rebuilt with those same principles, so be it." The journalist studied Ryan for a long moment, as if assessing his sincerity. "There's one more thing you need to know," he finally said. "In the last message I received from Roger, he mentioned a place, a country house in Riverbend, upstate New York, where he believed he would be safe temporarily. He said he would take his family there until we could publish the denunciation." Ryan felt his heart race. "Do you think they might be there?" "Honestly, I have no idea. I never managed to locate that house, but it's a lead I never fully explored." "Do you have the address?" "Only the property name, Birdsong Retreat. Apparently it belongs to a cousin of Beatrice, Roger's wife." Ryan stood up, feeling a renewed urgency. "I'll find that place, and Henry. When do you plan to publish the report?" "I need to verify all this information, corroborate with other sources. I can't make mistakes with something of this magnitude. But I'd say in 3 days at most I'll be ready." He paused. "Do you have protection? Edward Mendoza is not a man to leave a threat like this unanswered." I have security, and the federal police are involved now. Good, because when this breaks, it's going to be hell. Henry extended his hand. Take good care of those children, Mendoza. Roger spoke of them with such pride, especially Sophia. He said she had her mother's astuteness and his determination. She has all that and more, Ryan agreed, shaking the journalist's hand. I'll be in touch as soon as I have news about Riverbend. Back in the car, Ryan immediately called Vincent. I need you to find a property in Riverbend, upstate New York, called Birdsong Retreat. It belongs to a relative of Beatrice Carter. It's urgent. I'll start the search right away, sir. His next phone call was to Detective Christine. I found the journalist. He's going to publish everything in 3 days, and we have a possible lead on the Carter's whereabouts. A house in Riverbend. That's excellent, Ryan. Meanwhile, we're making progress in the investigations into your uncle. We've obtained warrants for bank and telephone record breaches. There are suspicious financial movements to overseas accounts, all coinciding with critical dates of the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project. What about Augustus Falcon? We're monitoring him discreetly. He made 3 trips to the Riverbend area in recent months. It could be a coincidence, or it could be the confirmation we need, Ryan completed. Keep me informed. I'll check that property as soon as Vincent locates it. Upon returning to the hospital, Ryan found Sophia awake, sitting in the armchair beside Lucas's bed, leafing through a book a nurse had brought. Can't sleep? He asked softly, approaching. She closed the book, looking at him with those old eyes in such a young face. I had a dream about Mommy and Daddy. They were in a beautiful house with many trees around, and there were birds, many birds. Ryan felt a shiver run down his spine. Birds? Yes, Daddy was feeding the birds in a big garden, and he seemed happy but also sad, as if he was waiting for something. The coincidence was too disturbing to ignore. Sophia, have you ever been to a country house? Perhaps in Riverbend? The girl frowned, thoughtful. I think so. Once when I was younger. It was Mommy's cousin's house. It had a small lake and many fruit trees. Do you remember the name of that place? Sophia bit her lip, struggling to remember. Something with birds. Retreat? Yes, Birdsong Retreat. Daddy used to joke it was the paradise of the Kiskadis. Ryan's heart pounded. It couldn't be a coincidence. Sophia, do you think your parents might have gone there when they disappeared? The girl's eyes widened with sudden understanding. You think they're there, alive? It's a possibility, he replied cautiously, not wanting to create false hope. We're investigating all leads. Sophia was silent for a moment, processing the information. Then, with a determination that continued to surprise Ryan, she said, I want to go too. If you're going to look for my parents, I want to be there. Sophia, it could be dangerous. Besides, we can't leave Lucas alone. He's stable now. Dr. Caroline said he's responding well to treatment. Please, Ryan, I need to go. I need to see for myself. Ryan studied that determined little face and knew it would be useless to argue. Sophia had been through things children should never face. She deserved to be present if there was any chance of reuniting with her parents. We'll talk to the doctor tomorrow, see what she thinks. If it's safe for Lucas to be without you for a few hours, we'll consider it. The next morning, Vincent confirmed the property's location. Birdsong Retreat, a country estate about 60 miles from New York City. It's registered under the name of Richard Allen, who, after verification, we confirmed is Beatrice Carter's cousin. The interesting thing is that the property has regular energy and water consumption for the past 6 months, but no one is frequently seen entering or exiting. Dr. Caroline, after examining Lucas and reviewing his latest tests, gave a cautiously optimistic opinion. He's stable. The leukemia is still in the initial phase of treatment, but the first results are promising. A few hours' absence for Sophia would not pose a risk, as long as he is well supervised by the medical team. With that confirmation, Ryan organized the expedition to Riverbend. Detective Christine would provide the necessary police support with plainclothes officers to avoid alerting possible watchers of the property. They would go in 3 separate cars, with Ryan and Sophia in the middle, discreetly escorted. Before leaving, Ryan had a serious conversation with Sophia. I want you to understand something very important. We don't know what we'll find there. It may be that your parents are not in that house, or it may be that they are not well. You need to be prepared for any scenario. Sophia nodded solemnly. I know, but I need to try. For Lucas, too. The trip to Riverbend took just over an hour. Birdsong Retreat was in an isolated area, surrounded by dense vegetation that made it almost invisible from the main road. A simple wooden gate, partially covered by climbing plants, marked the entrance. Following the established plan, the federal police agents discreetly surrounded the property, while Ryan and Detective Christine, with Sophia between them, approached the gate. There don't seem to be electronic security systems, Christine observed. Just a simple lock. With a signal from the detective, one of the agents opened the gate with specialized tools. The dirt path leading to the main house wound through fruit trees and wild flower beds. It was a truly idyllic spot, exactly as Sophia had described from her dream. As they approached the house, a rustic two-story construction with wide verandas, there were no apparent signs of movement. The windows were closed, although there were no curtains blocking the view. Stay here, Christine instructed, drawing her weapon. I'll go in with the team to check if it's safe. Ryan held Sophia close as they watched the detective, and 3 agents methodically circled the house before entering through the main door. The minutes that followed seemed like an eternity. Finally, Christine reappeared at the door, her expression a complex mixture of emotions. She waved for them to approach. The house is occupied, she said when they were close. There are clear signs that someone lives here. Food in the fridge, clothes in the closets. But we didn't find anyone. Sophia's face visibly fell. They're not here? We're still checking the grounds, Christine replied gently. The property is large. Entering the house, Ryan immediately noticed the signs of family life. There were children's books on the shelf, toys organized in a corner of the living room, and photos of Sophia and Lucas in carefully arranged frames. These are our things, Sophia whispered, touching a worn teddy bear on the sofa. This is Mr. Huggs. I left him in our apartment when we had to leave. Ryan felt a lump in his throat. Someone had brought the children's personal belongings to this house. Someone who cared deeply about them. One of the agents rushed in. Detective, we found something in the back barn. You need to see this. Following the agent along a path lined with well-kept gardens, they reached a simple structure that looked more like a studio than a barn. When they entered, they saw it had been converted into a kind of makeshift communications center. Computers, monitors, radio equipment, and piles of documents occupied almost all the space. It's an operations center, Christine murmured, examining the materials. Someone is monitoring something from here. And look at this. These are files from the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project. Practically a replica of what you showed us. Ryan examined the documents, immediately recognizing Roger's work. He continued the investigation, even after disappearing. It's all here, more evidence, more connections. A noise from outside made everyone turn. Footsteps approached quickly. Ryan instinctively put Sophia behind him, while Christine and the agents drew their weapons. The door opened. Time seemed to freeze. Sophia? The voice was a woman's, a voice trembling with emotion. Mommy. Before anyone could react, Sophia ran, bypassing the adults, and launched herself into the arms of the woman standing in the doorway. Beatrice Carter. Pale, thinner than in the photos Ryan had seen, but undeniably alive. Mother and daughter embraced as if the world could end at any moment. Sobs and unintelligible words, mixing in a torrent of pure emotion. Ryan felt tears in his own eyes at the scene. What's going on here? Who are you? A man appeared behind Beatrice, his face a mask of confusion and alarm. Roger Carter, the disappeared engineer, the father Sophia believed she had lost, was alive. Federal police, Christine identified herself, showing her badge. We are investigating your disappearance, Mr. Carter. Roger looked past the detective, his eyes meeting Ryan's. Mendoza. What are you doing here? It's a long story, Ryan replied, feeling such profound relief that he could barely organize his thoughts. But the most important thing is that we found you. Are you well? Sophia, still clinging to her mother, finally managed to speak. Lucas is sick, Mommy, very sick. He's in the hospital. But Ryan is taking care of him. And me. Beatrice looked up at Ryan, a mixture of gratitude and confusion in her gaze. Lucas, what happened to him? In the hours that followed, the full story was revealed piece by piece like a puzzle finally fitting together. Roger and Beatrice had been forced to disappear after explicit threats against their family. Augustus Falcon, Edward's trusted man, had made it clear that not only Roger, but also his wife and children would be eliminated if the denunciations about the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project came to light. In a desperate act to protect his family, Roger and Beatrice decided to hide. The original plan was to take the children, but when they went to pick up Sophia from the neighbor's house, they discovered that strange men were watching the building. Fearing an ambush, they fled, planning to return for Sophia and Lucas when it was safe. But it was never safe, Roger explained, his voice choked with remorse. Every time we tried to get close, we realized they were watching us. Falcon had men everywhere. We decided to continue gathering evidence, strengthening our case while looking for a safe way to retrieve our children. Why didn't you go to the police? Christine asked. We tried, Beatrice replied. We went to a police station in Albany, but when we mentioned Edward Mendoza's name, the detective practically threw us out. He was one of many officers on your uncle's payroll, she added, looking at Ryan. How did you survive all this time? He asked. My cousin Richard gave us this refuge, Beatrice explained. He's been abroad for years, so no one would associate the property with us. We used our savings, lived frugally, and continued our remote work. Roger hacked into Mendoza Tech's systems to continue monitoring the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project and gathering evidence. What about Sophia and Lucas? Ryan's question contained all the anguish he had felt in recent weeks. Roger's face contorted into a mask of pain. Our greatest failure, our daily torment. We believed the neighbor, Mrs. Carman, would take care of them for a few days, as she always did when we needed to leave. But when we managed to make safe contact, we learned she had suffered a stroke 2 days after our disappearance. Sophia was alone with Lucas, Ryan concluded. Yes, Beatrice whispered, tears streaming freely. Our 7-year-old daughter, taking care of a 2-year-old baby completely alone. She hugged Sophia even tighter. When we finally got information, the apartment had already been emptied by the landlord for non-payment. We couldn't find them. We hired a private detective, Roger continued. He located them a few times, living in temporary shelters, getting help at community centers. But whenever we tried to approach, Falcon's men seemed to be nearby. Until recently, the trail completely disappeared, Beatrice completed. We thought, her voice faltered, we thought it might be too late. Sophia, who listened to everything with a disconcerting intensity for her age, finally spoke. I took care of Lucas as best I could, Mummy, but he got very sick. I had to take him to the hospital. And there they found Ryan, Christine added, looking with new respect at the young executive. Ryan explained how he met the children, how he discovered the connection to his company, and how he gradually put the pieces of the puzzle together. Your flash drive was crucial, Roger, and the cell phone with the video. Sophia kept everything exactly as you instructed. My little warrior, Roger murmured, pulling his daughter into a hug. I always knew you would be strong. But you should never have had to be this strong. We need to take them to the hospital immediately, Ryan said. Lucas needs you, and you need to know. He has leukemia. The news hit the parents like a bomb. Beatrice almost fainted, supported only by her husband. My baby, please tell me he's going to be okay. The treatment started in time, Ryan assured them. The medical team is the best in the country, and he's responding positively. But it will be a long battle. We will fight by his side, Roger stated, a new determination in his voice. Thanks to you, we will have this chance. Before they left, Christine assured Roger and Beatrice that they would be under police protection from that moment on. The evidence you've gathered, combined with what Ryan provided us, is more than enough to initiate a formal operation against Edward Mendoza and his accomplices. In the car, on the way to New York City, Sophia sat between her parents, refusing to let go of both their hands for even a second. It was as if she feared they might disappear again if she released them. Ryan took very good care of me and Lucas, she told them. He even got provisional guardianship and everything. He even fought with his uncle for us. Roger looked at Ryan, who was driving, with new respect. Why? Why risk so much for children you barely knew? Ryan reflected for a moment. When I saw Sophia in that hospital, holding her brother as if her own life depended on it, something awakened in me. Perhaps because I also lost my parents very early. Or perhaps because after years of building a career, accumulating wealth and power, I realized none of that mattered if I couldn't use those resources to make a real difference in someone's life. Lucas's reunion with his parents at the hospital was a scene none of those present would ever forget. Despite being weakened by the treatment, the little boy lit up at the sight of familiar faces. His tiny eyes, once dull with fatigue, sparkled with instant recognition, and his little arms automatically reached out for his mother. Beatrice held him in her arms with extreme care, as if he were made of glass, whispering words of love and promises that she would never leave him again. Roger, unable to hold back tears, joined the family embrace, creating a protective circle around his son. Dr. Caroline explained the diagnosis and treatment in detail, patiently answering all the parents' anxious questions. He has a good chance of full recovery. The leukemia was detected in time, and he is responding well to treatment. Furthermore, she added with a warm smile, he's had 2 extraordinary people caring for him until now. In the days that followed, Ryan remained discreetly present, allowing the family to reconnect, but ensuring that all their needs were met. He arranged accommodations at the hospital itself so the parents could stay close to Lucas during treatment, and ensured that security remained reinforced. Henry Maxwell's report was published on Sunday, gracing the front page of the Times with the bombshell headline, "Environmental Scandal: How Technology Meant to Protect the Wilderness is Facilitating Its Destruction." The reaction was immediate and devastating. The federal police, already prepared, carried out simultaneous operations at Mendoza Tech headquarters and at the residences of Edward Mendoza and other executives involved in the scheme. Documents were seized, computers confiscated, and bank accounts frozen. Edward, apparently alerted in advance, tried to flee the country, but was detained at JFK Airport with a ticket to Switzerland and a suitcase containing €2 million in cash. The scandal dominated national news for weeks. The fraud was much larger than initially suspected, involving high-ranking politicians, agribusiness entrepreneurs, and even judges who had blocked previous investigations. For Ryan, the blow to the company's reputation was devastating, but necessary. He called a press conference where, instead of trying to minimize the damage, he assumed institutional responsibility and announced a complete restructuring plan. Mendoza Tech was founded by my father with values of integrity and innovation in service of the common good. At some point we lost our way. Today I announce not only full cooperation with the investigations, but also a commitment to rebuild this company on its original values. The Great Northern Wilderness Preserve Project will be completely redesigned, with independent auditing and direct participation from environmental organizations and indigenous representatives. While the corporate and political storm unfolded, a quieter, deeper transformation was occurring in Ryan's personal life. His daily visits to the hospital to monitor Lucas's treatment became an anchor point amidst the chaos. Roger and Beatrice's gratitude was palpable, but even more significant was the connection that had formed between him and Sophia. The girl, even reunited with her parents, maintained a special relationship with Ryan, forged in the moments of adversity they had faced together. A month after the family's reunion, Ryan arrived at the hospital to find Sophia sitting alone in the waiting room, while her parents accompanied Lucas to another chemotherapy session. "Hey, little one," he greeted, sitting beside her. "How's the warrior today?" "Tired," Sophia replied, her face serious, "but the doctor said the tests are better. The disease is receding." "That's great." Sophia nervously fiddled with the hem of her blouse. "Ryan, can I ask you something?" "Of course, anything. Now that my parents are back, will you still visit us? Or will you leave our lives?" The question caught him off guard. "Sophia, I would never leave your lives. Not after everything we've been through together." "Promise?" "I promise." He hesitated for a moment. "Actually, I was thinking about something. When Lucas is better and can leave the hospital, you'll need a place to stay, right?" Sophia nodded. "Well, I have a beach house in the Hamptons. It's a quiet place with lots of sun and fresh air. It would be perfect for Lucas's recovery. I was thinking of offering it to you to stay there for as long as you need." Sophia's eyes lit up. "Seriously? Like all of us? Mommy, Daddy, Lucas, and me?" "Exactly. And I could visit you whenever you wanted. Or if you prefer, I can find another place for you, closer to New York City, to facilitate Lucas's treatment." Sophia seemed to consider the offer with all seriousness. "I think my parents will like the idea of the beach. Lucas loves water." She paused. "But you can't just visit. You have to stay with us sometimes." "Like an extended family." "Extended family," Ryan repeated, feeling a deep emotion upon hearing those words. "I like that." That night he presented the proposal to Roger and Beatrice, initially hesitant to accept more help. After all Ryan had already done, they eventually agreed when he explained that the house was empty most of the time and that it would be an ideal environment for Lucas's recovery. "Besides," he added, "you still need protection. The investigation is ongoing, and although Edward is detained, his allies are still out there." 3 months later, with Lucas responding positively to treatment and officially in remission, the Carter family moved to the beach house. It was a spacious property, with large gardens and direct access to a calm private beach, perfect for a child in recovery. Ryan, fulfilling his promise to Sophia, began dividing his time between New York City, where he rebuilt the company on new principles, and the Hamptons, where he found something he had lost long ago, the sense of belonging to a family. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, as he watched Lucas, his hair already growing back, play in the sand under the watchful eyes of his parents, Ryan felt Sophia sit beside him on the deck. "Do you know what I like most about you?" she asked with that disconcerting frankness that characterized her. "What?" "You weren't afraid to do the right thing, even when it was difficult, even when it meant fighting against your own family." Ryan smiled, touched by her perceptive observation. "Sometimes the right thing is also the hardest, but it's worth it." "Like Lucas," Sophia agreed. "The treatment is hard, it hurts, he gets tired. But it's worth it because he's getting better." "Exactly." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the waves gently break on the beach. "Ryan?" "Yes?" "Thank you for not giving up on us." He put his arm around the girl's shoulders, feeling a wave of protectiveness and affection that had become familiar in recent months. "I would never give up. You've given me much more than I could ever repay." "Like what?" Ryan reflected for a moment. "Purpose, clarity, the chance to redefine what truly matters in life." Sophia nodded, as if she understood perfectly, and perhaps she truly did, with that ancient wisdom that inhabited her young soul. In the renovated house, the family had created a sanctuary not only for Lucas's physical recovery, but for the emotional healing of everyone. Roger and Beatrice slowly overcame the trauma of having been forced to abandon their children. Sophia readapted to the normal life of a child, finally allowing herself to let go of the role of protector and simply be an 8-year-old girl. And Lucas, the little warrior, regained his strength day by day, his clear laughter echoing through the house as a symbol of hope. As for Ryan, he had found a new definition of success, one that was not measured by profits or power, but by the positive difference he could make in the lives of others. Mendoza Tech was being rebuilt on this same principle, with Roger taking an important role in the reformulation of the Great Northern Wilderness Preserve project, now genuinely dedicated to environmental protection. The scandal, though painful, had served as a catalyst for necessary changes not only within the company, but in environmental policies as a whole. Investigations continued to reveal increasingly broad ramifications of corruption, leading to significant reforms in environmental enforcement. That night, as they all had dinner together on the veranda overlooking the sea, Ryan looked around the table and felt profound gratitude. The path had been difficult, marked by dangers and uncertainties, but it led to a destiny he could never have imagined, a family forged not by blood, but by shared adversity and the daily choice to remain united. Sophia, noticing his contemplative gaze, smiled at him over her juice glass, a smile that no longer carried the weight of the world, but rather the lightness of a child who could finally just be a child. And in that smile, Ryan found confirmation that all the struggles, all the losses, all the sacrifices had been worth it. Because in the end, true success was not in empires built or fortunes accumulated, but in lives touched and transformed by the simple and revolutionary power of doing the right thing, even when, especially when, it is the hardest. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Ryan, Sophia, and Lucas has moved you as much as it moved us in telling it. This narrative reminds us that true family can be formed by bonds that go far beyond blood, bonds of courage, compassion, and the conscious choice to do good. To follow more stories like this, we've prepared a special playlist with equally captivating narratives that explore unconventional family ties and the strength of love in times of adversity. Find it by clicking on the left. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and share it with anyone who would appreciate a narrative about redemption, courage, and the power to make a difference in someone's life. Every day, we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of life and the small choices that can transform destinies. Don't miss our upcoming content and tell us in the comments, what part of this journey touched you the most? What city are you following our stories from? We look forward to getting to know our listening community better. So until the next story, and remember, sometimes the bravest act is to open your heart to someone who needs you.